Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the Progeny Podcast. Today's guests are Sheikh Javad and his wife Zahra. Sheikh Javad, after almost a decade of studying in the Hawza of Qom, he joined the University of Cambridge, where he completed a Master in Philosophy and a PhD in Middle Eastern Studies. While in the United Kingdom, he also taught in the Hawza Ilmiya of London, and Sheikh Javad gives lectures and sermons around the world. Zahra is an optometrist who joined the Hawza a few years ago and is now doing research in Islamic studies full-time. Together with Sheikh Javad, they are in the final stages of writing a couple of books, including one on Sayed Musa, al-Sadr. Sheikh Javad, Sister Zahra, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the Progeny.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for having us.
You know what, I'm going to say this because a few times on social media we put out, who do you want to have on the Progeny Podcast? And every time we've put for suggestions from our followers, they've always mentioned Sheikh Javad. I'm going to say this for the followers because they've been asking a lot. I've asked Sheikh Javad from nearly a year ago, so it's, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing to have him finally on the Progeny Podcast. And I think the followers have always mentioned, for some reason, their own reasons, get Sheikh Javad and Sister Zahra on the podcast.
Bless them. It's really nice of them. And I'm happy to be here. To be honest with you, I'm mainly excited for the launch. Is there going to be lunch afterwards?
Right?
No
lunch.
No?
No. The water is what Progeny provides.
Well, inshallah, then at least we can purify our intentions, and we hope the audience benefits.
Inshallah, there'll be lunch. Why not, Sheikhna?
Yeah.
Sheikhna, you and Zahra have now sort of got a good following on social media with the many video clips that you've done. How did that come about? How did it start? Was it something that was just, you thought about, or was it just happened? Maybe you were filming each other, or I don't know.
Zahra, you wanna?
So we started because we thought that there is a lot of religious content out there, but we wanted to create something that gives religious content without any cliche. So we said we wanted to present whatever it is. For example, prayer, explain it in a very and dig deep into a very meaningful way, and find ways of like what is prayer meant to do to us, like, and in a way that we can as well progress. Are we actually achieving what prayer is meant to be there for us to achieve? So things like that, and then so we start, of course, with a lot of other topics, and then so it covers Quran, Hadith, Ad'iyah, a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. So as Zahra said, for us the main thing was to present religion in a way that makes sense and is not the same cliches that we've been hearing the whole time. Like, I want a person, when they hear a hadith or some verse of the Quran, it's not just something nice and say, well, it's nice, and then move on.
Yeah.
I want them to reach into their heart and also be in a way that they can apply it in their life. So that's why our main purpose has been like presenting religion without cliche and in a way that makes sense. So that's what was the motivation behind most of the work we do. And and hopefully actually today I'm excited to speak a little bit about this, like what do I mean by religion without cliche, because I think it's going to be I think it's a very important topic. So maybe today we could talk a little bit more about that.
When we first spoke about the podcast, we mentioned how to make religion relevant today. And we spoke about, or I mentioned that there seems to be an aggressive push by mainstream society, maybe in media, to promote atheism and to remove religion from the scene. Religion is supposed to be something that's boring. The youth, even though a lot of them probably today come from a background that's a Muslim background, ask them about their beliefs. And I'm talking about the youth, maybe 15, 16, and it's sadly maybe a bit empty. And my question is how can we make religion relevant to someone who's got an Iraqi or an Iranian or a Khoja or a background that's and a Muslim background, but he's having an identity crisis here in the UK. And it's like, religion for me is just my Hussainiyah, my mosque. But when I'm outside the mosque, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
How do we make that relevance?
So exactly, very, very great point you mentioned. And I think there are a lot of factors, but the one that Zahra and I, we've been focusing on is that part of the reason we got to here is external factors, but a lot of it is also has to do with internally what we're doing as a religious community. And one of the things I think every community needs is that two perspective at the same time. So there have to be within any community a group of people whose main aim is to preserve things, right? Pass them generation onto generation. So, and we've had that, we've had people who, they learned prayer from their parents, passed it on to us, all the different aspects of religion. They made sure it stays. They made sure, that something is left for us. But at the same time, we need another group of people within any community who look at the things we have and say, okay, maybe this needs a little bit of updating. Maybe here we need a little bit of a different approach. And unfortunately, I think within our community, the second group of people are usually undermined. And as a result of it, you have something which has been, by the efforts of great people, preserved, but maybe it's not exactly suited for the needs of the time. Mm-hmm. And let me give, this could be from very simple things to very important things. Like a simple thing, I remember a few years ago, we'd gone to a country for giving lectures, and we saw that after the prayer, when they finish their prayer, they get up, they look right, and they give salam to Imam Reza. Mm-hmm. And we were like, okay, what was the reason behind this?
I've always wondered, yeah.
Right. So then we figured out, okay, who started this? It doesn't make sense to turn right to say salam to Imam Reza, right? Geographically, where we were. Yeah. And we realized, okay, the group, the people who brought religion to that community were Iranians. And in Iran, if you're in part of the country, right? So Mecca is in front of you if you're standing in Qibla. Imam Reza, Mashhad is to your right.
All the time.
Right? So it makes sense. You do your prayer, then you turn right and say salam. Whereas in that country, they were both even in front. Like even if you wanted to say salam to Imam Reza, was in front of you, same direction as Qibla.
So
right?
if you're looking right, you're looking towards the US maybe.
No.
No, I'm saying if you're in the UK and you look towards the right.
Yes. Yeah, I thought you were saying where the country was. No. Yeah, so see something as simple as this. Bless. Someone brought the tradition in to say salam to the Imam, but this needs some people to come later on. Maybe we need to update this, Things as simple as this, if we don't correct them, after a while we have things that we don't know why they're doing them. They become shallow, and this is now with a very, of course, insignificant in terms of the whole thing, because it's a small mistake and the intention is there. But the same can be seen in a lot of aspects of religion, that if we don't if we don't correct, if we don't update, then we have things which look beautiful, sound beautiful, but don't do much. So yeah,
and I also think we should really focus on how religion should be a force for good and removing suffering. That we forget that a lot of the time. We focus on a lot of nitty-gritty things and not focus on these things, which is why a big reason why religion is here.
Yeah.
Sheikh, speaking of cliche, you said you used that term.
Yeah.
And I don't obviously. You mentioned beautifully, the people that have in our communities, they've preserved these beautiful traditions, these some cultural as well as religious. But as I mentioned, because I feel, this is my feeling, that there's now been a gap between those that preserved these things that we do in the center, all very good things. But now, because the youth are, asking more questions, like for example, this thing turning towards the right, or other, even though it's something that I grew up doing, it didn't make sense to me why I'm turning towards the right. Now you've explained, but have religious communities dealt with this gap effectively?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. There have always been great people who've been trying to do that, but the thing is, these two groups, the one who tries to preserve things looks nice, right? They'll feel like, oh, this is the one who passed, prayer from one generation to another. So the community usually respects them. Oh, this is the one who taught us this. But the other group who are as much needed, they sometimes are not appreciated, but they even seem like a threat. Why? Because if people are used to a certain way of doing things, now someone comes and tries to say, no, guys, I love this. I just want to make this better. They perceive it as a threat, and usually they're isolated or like not supported as much. So that's why I think in this area we've failed a lot, and I can show in almost every aspect with regards to Quran, right? On the one hand, we say, yes, this is the most important book, God's last revelation. There is within it solutions for all the problems of humanity. And what do we do with it? We just recite it when our grandma dies. We read the same surah and that's it. Back on the shelf, nothing. And people don't realize that this is disrespect to Quran. Like, I think now if you want to respect the Quran, it's not kiss it and put it there. It's read it, challenge it, talk. Like, what do you have to offer to me? Are you changing my life or not? Right? It's with, like, if I'm a lecturer and I give a lecture and someone just like kisses the video, put it there. That's not respect to me. You have to engage me and say, I believe in it, right? So this is with regards to Quran. We read it. Sometimes in my classes, I ask people, tell me one meaningful way in which Quran changes your life. Many people can't say anything. I'm saying, okay, let's open the Quran, because that's how we do it. Open the Quran from one page and we read it. I'm like, okay, let's open this, any page you want, and tell me, how is this good for you? So that's with regards to Quran. With our adiyah is the same. We read our du'as without the translation, even sometimes with translation, and still nothing.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I saw a beautiful clip. This was ages ago.
Yeah.
I think you were reciting in one of the centers in London. If I'm not mistaken, it was at Hujjat. And you mentioned something beautiful about the du'as that we recite. I think after Salah, or maybe the Ramadan du'as, or the daily Ramadan du'as, Shahr Ramadan. And you mentioned this thing, if someone gives you a prescription, and you mentioned it in Persian.
Yes,
I don't remember what it was. I speak a bit of Persian, but you said, take these 2 tablets, one before you sleep, or one. And then he says, if someone reads that every day without action, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a lot of prescriptions. We gather every week and we just read them. And I said, this is like if you get, for example, for an instruction for a diet, and you come every week and recite it in Farsi. برای اینکه وزنتون کم بشه باید چربی رو قطع بکنید، کربوهیدرات رو کم بکنید. So which basically means that you have to remove carbs and fat. But imagine if we don't remove carbs and fats from our diets, we come every week and we just recite that. And as I said, this is with regards to Quran, this is with regards to adiyah, this is with regards to our hadiths, and I've got so many examples to give there. And even, with regards to, and this is why this second group of people who update things are so important, because the problem is a lot of the times we do things which look right, they're the right thing, but they're wrong. And let me give you a few examples of that. So if, let's say, unfortunately, a member of the family loses one of their family members, like someone passes away due to, for example, the COVID-19, everyone will be like saying what? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Everyone says that. Why? In the Quran. Right? If you've been, for example,
going through trials, tribulations.
Okay. Now this, we think we're doing the right thing, but we're not, right? The Quran doesn't say these group of people who are special are the ones that when someone dies, they say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, so you can just say it and that's it. You become among them. What it's saying is that the people that Quran is saying these are the good, he said that they have lived in a way that when someone passes away or when a difficulty happens inside them, they're calm. Why? Because they know that at the end of the day, we're all going back to God. It's that inner feeling, someone who says this naturally, not someone who doesn't feel that way and just says it, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, right? If it's not coming from inside, it's pointless. You can't just say it and think like it happened. Sheikh Father used to mention an example. It says that this is a fruit that has to come naturally from the tree, right? If you've lived in a certain way that at the moment of difficulty, naturally, this teaching comes to your mind that Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and that makes you calm. Then when you say it, first of all, you don't even need to say it. All is that you feel it. But then if you say it, it's the natural fruit of the tree that you are. But if you don't even feel that, But you're just saying it because someone told you to say it. It's like, sticking a fake fruit to a tree. These things have to come naturally. So we say it, it's as if we're acting according to the Quran, but we're not. And that's why it doesn't have any impact, right? If we say, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un" right now, will it change the way we feel? No, it's just something you say. Whereas if you go and think, okay, how can I live in a way that when something bad happens, naturally I feel that way? Then it's a whole discussion. Okay, let's figure out how to do that. How can I live that comes naturally out of me, right? Then it becomes interesting. Then it becomes effective. But right now, it's just an instruction that is useless. And I can give you hundreds of examples like this, right? Every aspect where we do things which look good but don't have any power because it's just like a fake tree put on a fake fruit. Put on a tree.
How do you, speaking of trees and fruits, how do you plant the seeds for that tree to give you good fruits then? Because now you've given us the example, and let's look at this particular example of Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And you've said, something beautiful about that tree giving you real fruit, nice pomegranate that's not fake.
Oh, you're making me so hungry right now.
So how do you plant the seeds to get that fruit?
Okay, I think the main step we need to take is to first accept we don't have that fruit. Right? This is the first and most important block on our way. As long as we think we're doing the right thing, oh, look at us. Right? We're so self-congratulatory. Right? We feel like we're doing it. I'm doing my Quran, I'm doing my hadith, I'm doing my dua. Someone dies, I'm the first one to say no lillah. As long as we think we have it, well, we don't even feel the need to go and discuss.
That reminded me of the verse in the Quran. There's when we recite Surah Al-Hamd in our prayer every day, we recite how many times? 5 times in a day. And what we say is اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, right? So أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So some people translate this that keep us on the right path, but what it's actually saying is no, guide us to the right path. So automatically in our mind we think that we are on the right path, and every time, so that really blocks a lot of us actually going to seek the truth because we think we are with the truth.
Exactly. And this takes us back to how religious education is even done. Because our approach to religious education is just give people these fake trees, these fake fruits, fake pomegranates, right? And why? Because as Zahra said, even when we read in our prayer that ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim, guide us to the right path, in our mind like, oh, alhamdulillah, we're on the right path. Keep us on the right path. It's literally in some translation. And then when they reach to غير المغضوب عليهم, they're like, okay, well, we're on the right path, so these maghzub and the others.
Other people, not me.
So it shows that, see, Quran, and of course God through the Quran thought that, see, as a Muslim, every day you need to be looking for guidance in where, like something like this, how can this fruit come naturally? It's an everyday struggle to come up with these answers. But if you feel like, no, we've got it, then, and this is why as well I wanted to also maybe talk a little bit about this, that religious education is very difficult, and we have to know that just by telling people things, ordering them things, giving them a list of things they have to believe in, even if they believe in it in their mind, that's almost useless. And I wouldn't say like completely useless, but we can open that up. But I think the first step is to just accept that things are not as easy as we take them to be. Like, for example, another area we're so happy about it. By the way, I'm coming across a little bit as like I'm attacking people, right? Because I'm not. Let me have some water.
Sheikh, I'm going to make you attack people more now. Is there too many red lines?
Well, that's another discussion. First of all, let me say that I love this community so much. I would not want to be part of any other community, right?
Yeah, this is all out of love and care.
It's just, I'm just passionate. You know, when I'm passionate, I'm like, it's just the Iranian blood. So I love us, and I hope that inshallah because one of the things, brother, I feel is that we put so much effort and energy and intention into our religious lives, and by we I mean the whole community, and I'm just like a small part of it, Zahra and I. But I feel like if we just change a few things a little bit, pay more attention, then with the same effort that we're putting in, we're going to get way more results, and that's what we're after. So, for example, with regards to our ad'iyah, right? We come every week, dua kumail be it, we recite it, right? And then people don't ask themselves sometimes, okay, you've been reciting this for 10 years, right? Okay, what are the new things you've learned? How is it changing your life? Dua Arafah of Imam Hussain comes, one of the most beautiful things there is in the universe. But we just read it, and I used to tell people read the translation, but this year I realized even if they read the translation, it's useless. Because sometimes even the translator didn't care about this, right? So, for example, there's this phrase there, وَأَوْجَبْتَ حُجَّتَكَ عَلَيَّ بِأَنْ أَلْهَمْتَنِي مَعْرِفَتَكَ. Right? And people now can check the translation for that on the websites we have. I was spending 10 minutes trying to see what does this guy mean in the translation. And even it's so interesting. We think that if we just read this, we're getting points from Imam Hussain. Baba, he's teaching us things, you know? You can't just read this and be like, oh, we did it. Now, I looked at some of the books on commentary. They reach this phrase, they move on. Look at the translation, it doesn't make sense. And then this Muharram, we discussed it in the discussions we had on Dua Arafah, and you realize it's such an important and beautiful topic, and it speaks basically about this idea that God says, I have direct communication with every single person, right? So there are certain knowledge that I reveal within you, right? Whether we want to say this is the fitra or something else. And God says on the day of judgment, I mean, as Imam Hussain is teaching in Dua Arafah, before asking you that I, for example, gave you Islam or I gave you this religion, why didn't you act upon it? Imam Hussain says prior to this, God will check with you with regard to the information that you felt inside. You know, Imam Hussain is saying this is more important. This is prior even to religion. So God checks with you, you know, and if you think about it, this is so important because Imam Hussain is basically telling every one of us how important we are to God. Everyone has a direct line of communication with God, that God gives them information. And Imam Hussain says, you're so important. Don't think that you have to like blindly listen to others. There are certain truths which are directly inside you, and it's actually based on this that you choose your religion, right? And this, so see how powerful this line is. But then what do? We just recite it, and what are some of the downfalls of just reciting it without paying attention, right? I don't know if you've paid attention or not. When the reciter is reciting, so I'm like, how many pages left, you know? And you obviously, because it's tiring, 30 pages, who said you have to do it in one go? Or read one line, benefit, or read a few pages, benefit, think about it.
And it's such a shame because then they actually don't even understand Imam Hussain as much. Like for the first time, people give us so much feedback about just Jawad's commentary on Dua Arafah. They're like, for the first time I understand Imam Hussain now. I never used to understand him other than, like all the atrocities that happen in Karbala. But they're like, for the first time I understand him as an individual, how I can actually use this information and apply it in my life. So it's just so interesting that even you, for example, just reading the translation, you wouldn't even understand him and you would think, he's not even a special person. So that's why this is really important to not just look at the translation.
Even if you believe that your Imam is special, because for us that's in our heart, you don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were in Najaf? We're in Najaf in the shrine of Imam Ali. I had the honor, which is like one of the highlights of my life, to give a lecture there. And by the way, I want to tell a funny story about that too, of how people reacted to that. Like, to me, I'm happy. Like, it's a dream to be in the shrine and give a talk. And I went back and I was expecting, when I back to Iran, I was like, my friends are like, Javad, alhamdulillah, you got to do this, mashallah. They were like, why are you wearing colorful socks?
They picked on your socks.
Yeah. I was like, fair enough. Next time I'll wear even more colorful socks. But no, the point I was making is this. I had a lecture in the shrine of Imam Ali, and I was, there are a lot of people who beautifully and rightfully explain that Aliyun ma'al haq, Imam Ali is special, Imam Ali is this and that. But sometimes what we don't do is tell people, what did Imam Ali do, for example, in his life? Or how can I be like him? Imam Ali ma'al haq, al-haq ma' Ali. Imam Ali is special, Imam Ali is this, Imam Ali is that. Now, tell me a few things about his life. What can I be like him? And so I was like, let me just do this, right? And then we had actually a convert in our group who later told me that, you know what, I'd heard so much from the Shia community that Imam Ali is special. No one had told us why or how can I be like him, You know, like in his real life, what were the things he did that took him to that position? You know, or should we wait for him to ask us questions? We're talking.
No, I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this.
Really?
Okay.
You're asking the questions and you're answering.
Yeah, so good.
You're giving us the problems and the solutions.
Yeah, if you want, you can even leave. We'll just do the whole podcast.
Just give us some food. We'll get hungry after a few hours.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sheikh, with regards to, you know, the problem is all, you know, this is all nice, what you've mentioned. It's, you know, important that, you know, as I mentioned, I had this part of this lecture, which I think within our community went viral. If I'm not mistaken, there was a few 100,000 views on this particular clip about the dua of Shahr Ramadan, the daily dua of Shahr Ramadan being recited, and then you mentioned, you know, all we do is recite. But you know, and this was probably 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Not this Ramadan, and probably the Ramadan before that.
Ahsan. So, but I'm sorry to say, but I see no change. We're still doing, you know, we're still turning up. Now because of COVID, it's become even more difficult, because at least then when we go to the mosque, we'd meet people, maybe have a little chat, get to meet the sheikh, a few community elders. Now with COVID, everything being at home, the dua Kumayt sort of now becomes something that's played in the background, and then, you know, you always know when you hear Ya Sari' al-Rada, that is coming to an end. You know, that part of the dua, I always know that's it, we're coming to the end, alhamdulillah. So we're still doing the same, but what is it that's stopping us from actually changing?
Well, the thing is, I may have said this, and there are other people who said this, but it's not like anyone's listening to us. Like, you know, we're just one small player among so many other players, right? Even up to now, I was actually looking at, you know, first of all, before, I think I need to put this out there, that I don't want to, I mean, Zahra and I, we've made this promise between us, but we don't just say this is wrong and that's it. We always try to come up with a solution as well. Right, so that's why, for example, on our YouTube channel, when we told people don't just read the Quran and don't understand, we put so many videos of how we think one could benefit more from the Quran.
You're giving solutions.
Exactly. So I want to put that out there, that it's not just like we're saying without any. On du'as we've made videos, on hadiths we're making videos, but the problem is that we try to do that, right? Like with every hadith that we put out there on our Instagram channel, right? If people look at it, they'll see that every hadith there is practical, is applicable, and it has points that you can take right away and do it in your life. But even now, it's not like this is the only way that people put out hadiths there. Even up to now, I see people who still put a hadith that says don't be angry. Although, what's the point of that? Everyone knows that. Tell people how not to be angry. And so see, this is partially is due to the people who are doing the work of religion, and unfortunately now a lot of it is not even the scholars. Like sometimes I see for example on Instagram, a lot of people who are creating religious content with beautiful intentions, but they have no background. Right? It's a Muslim who cannot make other TikToks. They're like, okay, let's make religious TikToks, and they end up making things like, okay, 7 benefits of astaghfirullah. First, God will forgive your sins. 2, He'll give you money. 3, He'll give you children. I'm like, this is not how you deal with the hadith, right? It's not like if I say astaghfirullah, then the next day I may be vomiting or be like, oh, am I getting pregnant? Or, you know,
hopefully that's not happening, Sheikh.
Yeah, no one should be worried about that, right? So but I'm saying, so yes, we are trying to put the right way out there, but still there are so many people who have not waken up to the fact that you got to treat your religion very seriously, right? We have to let go of this hadith fetish that people have. One of the scholars I was speaking to, he said someone's father passed away, and they contacted the scholar and said, can you tell me a hadith that people should be sad when someone passes away? I'm like, you don't need a hadith for that. You know, like, what are you doing? You're disrespecting the Imam. You know, he's not a flower you put on it. These are important people. If we believe their teachings are there to change our life, change the world, then take it seriously. And people should expect that. If someone says, oh, the Imam said don't be angry, you'd be like, Sheikh, now we knew that. Tell us how. Tell us how not to be angry.
That's the problem.
Right?
People don't even, like, I feel like it's kind of taboo for you to even ask questions. Like, we all should have questions. For example, something doesn't make sense to us, we should ask. We should feel comfortable with the sheikh or whoever is giving for content. We should ask them, and I think that's the only way really that you can really make things more meaningful to you, more meaningful in your life. We don't do that. That's the problem. We don't ask questions. We don't think. We just accept it. We see videos. Yeah, okay. No, I should be a good person. I should do this, that. Well,
yeah, and I'm hoping, inshallah, we can slowly. We need to, I think, do two things at the same time. Raise our expectations of what religious content is shared. Mm-hmm. So if someone just says something like, I don't know, okay, even things as simple as this. If you pray like this, it will get answered. Oh, it's not as easy as that. Don't make people promises, right? If you pray in this place, people just speak. Not think, oh, what if it doesn't work? What if the person does that and their prayer is not answered? What if you tell person, or so we need to raise expectations of what kind of religious content we're sharing. Another day I was watching on Facebook, someone said, if you listen to music, it's like you're slapping Imam Ali, astaghfirullah. I'm like, mate, we have Maraja who allow music at this some music. What you're saying that there is what if we have a youth in the community who's listening to music and they've got a great relationship with Imam Ali? You're ruining that now. What is this? Think before talking. So one is raise the expectation so that the religious content which is shared is thought about, and at the same time people really need to start taking themselves seriously, right? People think that they don't have a say or they should be happy with anything they receive, and this needs to change. Like Imam Hussain in Dua Arafah is very serious about this. That you as a human being, you have a say, right? Even we have this in the Quran. Ayatollah Beheshti has a book, very interesting, God in the Quran. There he says that on the day of judgment, you don't get to say that I did this because that scholar told me, or this is my community the way it did. He said every single person is individually responsible to do the right thing. Of course, as part of that, you may need to in certain areas especially follow, definitely. But in many areas, especially when it comes to, for example, your beliefs, etc., you are individually responsible. And so, if someone tells you that pray or do salat, and you've been praying for 20 years and it doesn't change your life, well, go back and say, I'm so sorry. You said, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha wal munkar.
I'm still doing fahsha.
I'm doing fahsha regularly. And not that I want it, but it's not helping me. It's not helping me. I said that, how many people we have, we want to let go of the fahsha, but we can't. Quran says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Either, na'udhu billah, Quran is not correct, or we need to find a way to do it. Wrong. Yeah. And so go and have these expectations. One of the scholars was saying, if you go to a doctor and you've got a terrible headache and he gives you a pill and says, this pill will take care of the headache. You go home, you're trying it for a week, it's not working. You go back and say, this pill is not helping. But I don't know why when it comes to religion, the person tells you, for example, prayer will help you get rid of your bad intentions, bad desires. You tried for 20 years, it's not working. You don't go back and say, what changes for me? Okay, so if people raise their expectations, know that, and the reason why we're not raising our expectations is that we think this is it, At the end of the day, most of us in our heart, prayer, you pray, but it's not going to have that much impact. And so I don't know if you've seen this or not. Like sometimes when you go to people's houses, let's say for Ramadan or etc., people are like, let's pray, get it out of the way so we can have fun tonight.
Yeah.
So what does that show us? It means that we have all kind of subconsciously accepted that prayer is not that of a big deal anyway. I mean, you have to do it because God will get angry if you don't. But this is wrong. This is a community who's completely given up on its religion, but is just not willing to let the last step go. Right? But you can figure these things out, have expectations, right? I was listening to, there was a debate in Iran between two scholars. Mm-hmm. One of them was saying that God is more forgiving that you're making it sound. The other one was saying, no, God is as angry as we make him sound. And then anyway, so the debate finished. The other scholar, the one who was like, God is more angry, afterwards gave a lecture to explain further his point. And he said that, if God will forgive those who don't pray on the day of judgment, then this is unfair to those of us who have prayed. And everyone was like, takbir, wow, beautiful, great point.
Good point.
What they don't realize is that this is the most awful point you could make. You could not have disrespected prayer more than this. Because what you're technically saying is that God, this prayer did nothing good for me. I did it for 20, 30 years. It was painful. It was terrible. I had to wake up. It didn't add anything to me. And I did all of this. And now this guy who didn't do anything is going to the same place as me. Would anyone say that with gym? Imagine if you'd gone 10 years to the gym, looked great, had these muscles, everything, and then someone didn't go. Would you say, God, if that person goes to heaven, it's unfair to me? No, mate, you look great in this world, right? You look great. You benefited from it. You were healthy. So that just shows you didn't enjoy even one of your prayers. If it's that difficult that you want to get the cost from someone else, you're taxing someone else, right? It means you never enjoyed it. And no one else would say that. You know, in no other field will say that. Yeah, it just shows that we're not enjoying it. It's a burden. When religion becomes a burden, the religion that Prophet said, my Baba, it's a rahmah. I brought this as a mercy. It's meant to help your life. But now people are like, oh, I wish Prophet hadn't told us prayer. Then, oh my God, life would have been so much easier. And I get them, because the one you do right now is really a burden. It doesn't make you any better. It's just like you have to, like so much struggle, honestly, without the... Yeah.
It's perspectives. I see, you mentioned this great first point about, this,
which one? They were all great.
Yeah, no, of course, alhamdulillah. But the point about, the scholar Sheikh Sayed that mentioned, it's not fair that God places me with someone who hasn't prayed. And like you said, people did takbir, and if someone like me heard this, I would have said that's a good point. But what you've just done is you've changed the perspective of looking, and you've given a new look to the actual salah. Because I always say, with salah, because Umar ibn Sa'd prayed salah, yet Umar ibn Sa'd killed the Imam of his time. And we don't want to be the people that will see the Imam of our time but not be able to recognize him, because Umar did see the Imam of his time. Shimr saw the Imam of his time. He just didn't recognize that was the Imam. And that's my sort of simple opinion on that. And from my understanding, we're now sort of doing prayer to just sort of get it out of the way.
Check the list.
And it's all become sort of a checklist.
Yeah, exactly. And whereas we have loads of hadiths, and it's even in the Quran, who said that just by praying you're sorted, right? You mentioned the most important examples. We've had people who prayed, their Quran were much better than us. Some of them had done Hajj way more than us, but still they did all of what they did. Why? Because, see, prayer is a technology. It has to come within you, change certain things within you, right? Lady Fatima says, right, God gave us, for example, prayer tanzihan anil kibr. So it has a function, right? If it comes and doesn't do that, then and we've got so many hadiths from the Prophet that you could pray and get farther from God. Right? Or we have even hadiths from Imam Ali that people pray, worship, but it's like day to night, but they don't get anywhere. We have from another Imam that says people pray for 20 years, 30 years is useless. These kind of beautiful teachings, which is in our religion, we just don't bring it. Why? Because someone at some point told us that, see, prayer could be sahih. If you just, masalan, your recitation is nice, your clothes is tall, that's it. Either God will accept or not. What is this?
Yeah.
The hadith is telling me I could be praying and getting farther from God. You're telling me, no, don't worry. Just do your translation right. Get your clothes tahir. That's it. You're fine. And these, shifts in perspectives are so important. Why? Because one thing I don't doubt about our community and us is that we all have great intentions, most of us. So I'm sure even the person who prays, they're not doing it because they're bad. They're amazing people. But if we don't fix our perspectives, we may end up disrespecting our religion, carrying so much burden, and then scoring own goals. So I remember a while ago on my Instagram, I posted a text from a Christian theologian about the relation between a person who has repented to God and God has forgiven them. So it's a very powerful line, and it really shows that after a person feels like God has forgiven them, how much energy they get now to go and change themselves, become better. Someone leaves a comment that, why are you posting from Christian theologians? I said, brother, do you accept with what it said or not? Like, do you think? He said, no, this is not in line with our Islamic spirituality. I mentioned 4 or 5 lines from Imam Sajjad, Imam Sadiq, Imam Ali alayhi salam. And I said, no, we have very similar things, right? And he said, no, this is the interesting part. I want everyone to pay attention to. I don't know which camera is getting me, if you're listening later on through audio, I want you to move a little bit closer. But I mean, that's technically impossible, because if you put headphones on, you've got nothing to go closer to. But internally, come closer. See, the person tells me, Sheikh, don't give me theologians from other religions. I want teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Maybe if the thing stopped at this point, everyone, the Shias, would get up and clap for him. MashaAllah, he wants the Shia pure material. Yeah. Well done, only the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. I'm like, you can't seriously mean this. It sounds nice. It sounds like you're respecting the Ahlul Bayt, but at the bottom of it, it shows that you have never given them serious attention. Because who can be serious about the Shia teachings and not come across tens of hadiths that from Imam Ali, from Imam Sajjad, from all the Imams that say, go and seek wisdom wherever it is. If wisdom, for example, it's in a different place, we'll go and get it. We don't look at who's saying it. Look at what's being said.
From the Quran itself.
Even in the Quran, الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. So don't tell me that I only want the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, when with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt saying, go and seek wisdom wherever it is. See? So we say things which sound good. We don't realize that this is disrespecting. This is only because you haven't paid enough attention, right? So you're just virtue signaling to me that I'm the one who loves Ahlul Bayt, and you're making me, the person who's trying to actually follow the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, look like I'm not. And I want to give another example, if it's okay. I know.
Does you talk this much at home as well?
Yeah, we talk. I mean, a lot of our time, 90% is talking.
And 90% is him. And then
no, I wouldn't say 90. I would say more like 88. 89. I think there's going to be starting a campaign for saving Zahra from Sheikh Javad.
Well, I think she gets you back when she records you when you're not.
That's why I started the 50 seconds thing, right? Now on Instagram, I'm like, shit, explain the hadith in 50 seconds, not more,
That's fine, I think, for you, but once she asks you to do it in a different language, how many languages do you speak, by the way?
So, French a little bit, Persian, English, Arabic, and then French a little bit, and Swahili I learned it, but then I haven't. It was like 2012, okay. So I'm not sure I can speak. I can understand it. I need a little bit of practice too.
Korean?
Korean was my sister.
Oh, mashallah.
So she said the Korean. My sister was on the phone. She was like, I'm going to do it. Okay. And she saved my life.
I started this because I think I'm going to be attacked as well.
Yeah. I have it coming for her. Yes, yeah. She already did one in Persian, okay, which she did really well because she's just learning Persian now.
Oh, are you not from Iran?
No, I'm Iraqi.
Oh, okay. That's
I think a lot of people think that. Yeah, they think I'm Iranian.
Yeah,
my accent is becoming Iranian as well.
Yeah, you've got great influence.
This is how we export our culture. But yeah, so yeah, that's been that.
She recorded you once while you were reading Dua. Mashallah, you've got a beautiful voice. Why don't you read more Dua?
Thank you so much.
And then you mentioned, you can't have privacy because she's.
Yeah. Well, I love the adiyah, right? And I used to be a reciter as well.
Your favorite Dua?
At the moment, Dua Arafah. I die for this Dua. And we have, by the way, for those who may not be familiar with our content, we have a series, Comentary on Dua Arafah on YouTube. Mm-hmm. That a lot of people told us, even for myself, I felt like my relationship with God changed after that dua, right? The way Imam Hussain speaks about the story of creation of insan, the way Imam Hussain speaks about how much love and care God put for every single human being from before they were born. And that's why it breaks my heart. I'm like, don't just read this for the thawab. Baba, sit down.
So you're going to write a book, inshallah, explaining Dua Arafah.
We are actually. Our goal is, inshallah, before the next day of Arafah, to have this ready. Because I think if someone reads this, then they will.
Next year, August, I think.
August or July, I think.
So next year, before July, there's a book coming out.
Inshallah. Even earlier, we're hoping. I mean, we're in the process of it. Because I think if you read this, Imam Hussain forever will be different to you for the rest of your life. Right?
And even God. Like, God gave feedback to us, like, for the first time, I'm seeing God in such a loving way.
Yeah.
It's like, how much fear have they been put in these people
The first
about
time
God?
I read the Dua Arafah was in Hajj on the day of Arafah. The first time I read it full, might have read little, but the first time I sort of read that particular dua in full, alhamdulillah, was during Hajj on the day of Arafah.
It's next level.
Yeah.
And masalan, there's that line, because people may be saying, oh, what are you on about? Imam Hussain says, وَفِيهِ أَنْشَأْتَنِي وَمِنْ قَبْلِ ذَلِكَ رَأُفْتَ بِهِ. You brought me into this world, but even before that, you had love and for me.
Allah.
Right? It's very important, because now in a lot of our religious teachings, we tell the kids, well, if you make one mistake, God is angry with you. Imam Hussain says this is nonsense. There's even lines there in Dua Arafah, which I will get to. Imam Hussain says, God loved you before you were even born. What are you on about that it's only for your good actions that God loves you? وفيه أنشأتني ومن قبل ذلك رأفت بي. Or in another one, وابتدأتني بنعمتك ولم أكن شيئا مذكورا. I didn't even have a name. No one even knew what I was, and you loved me. Right? So it's very important, and I think this can really change. No, a lot of people message us and say that we're still suffering from the religious teaching we got, right? They're still going through suffering, going through anxiety, because they painted a very, like, an angry picture of God for them that still gives them anxiety. I get, for example, messages from people who are even in their early years of Jose, who are saying, mate, I've got some shortcomings, I'm really trying to get rid of it, but I've got some anxiety issues and God is just making everything worse. Why? Because when they were going through their Sunday school or even through the religious schools, the person would tell them like stories that you would not believe. Even they tell this to like my family members. I'm like, why would you do that to a little kid? Like they mentioned this story that there was this great alim, everything great about him, almost a masoom, no mistake. Like these are the masoomin, this alim is here. And then someone dreamt of him after he passed away that he had just borrowed one book and forgot to return it. And because of that, he was punished. So children, return the books you borrow. I'm like, what are you doing? Yes, a few kids may return some books, but you've scarred them for life. You're telling me that God is so petty, so angry, so like God knows what, that this great scholar who none of us could ever be like, just because he forgot to return one book,
he's being punished.
What hope do I have?
God, they're using that for their benefit. Seriously,
no. Even there could be great intention. I don't want to be cynical. The problem is that in religion, with great intention, you can score terrible own goals. How many teenagers are scarred in life by hearing these things, and for the rest of their life, they can never connect to God. Hold Imam Hussain, what does he say? Imam Hussain says, because maybe, and one of the concepts they have, by the way, see the Persian words coming in. One of the concepts we have is the concept of khawf and raja, which again we've misunderstood. We think that if we make a few mistakes, then our khawf should go up. Imam Hussain in Dua Arafah says, my khawf and raja has nothing to do with my actions. My raja will not go up if I act good things, and my khawf will not go up if I make mistakes. I will have my khawf and raja nonetheless, because I know that, it's a very beautiful concept and we can open it up. But it's a different game to what we tell our kids. If you make one mistake, if you miss one prayer, if one hair of your hair, one hair, God, that's it. God's going to be angry with you. God's going to punish you. Imam Hussain, and that's what right now I can't recite. Why? Because I don't want to recite the whole Dua Arafah. I think that does injustice to it. I'm like, let's just one day, all of us sit down and just recite one line. وَفِيهِ أَنْشَأْتَنِي وَمِنْ قَبْلِ ذَلِكَ رَأُفْتَ بِهِ. That's like, sometimes I recite the one line for like 200 times. Because it's so powerful, it's life-changing. Yeah. If we do the whole thing, then we lose out on this, So that's why it's so difficult for me now to recite du'as, because, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. I don't want to pass. I want to stay here.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I think the little clips have done wonders for people, You've got a great following, and we've noticed you've got a hidden skill of playing football. That was my favorite one, because there's you the ball didn't drop when you were doing kick-ups. So I don't know why you didn't become a football player. You've done quite well for the kick-ups.
Thank you.
But again, for the youth, are you becoming relevant to them through these? Do you think there's change? Or are we still sort of coming back to the first point? I mean, religion for me is something in the Hussainiyya, the mosque. As soon as I'm out of the center, but I'm the normal Mustafa. I've got a 9-to-5 job, for example. I may mix with people that I shouldn't be. I may go after, because it's the society we live in. And then when I'm in the mosque in Shahr Ramadan, and even that has been, obviously, now it's become more difficult, I think, for people, because they can't go to the mosque again.
Yeah.
How can we, someone like yourselves, because now you're giving religious content out, how can you make religion relevant to people that only see it as something that it's practiced in the four walls of the mosque, where it's not part of their daily lives?
Yeah. The problem we have, I mean, Zahra and I, and we've been discussing it, is that you can't really create that much change unless you have a community, right? So one of the things Zahra and I were really hoping we can do is, at this point, it's just basically an idea, to have a center where we could, just like imagine just a small room where we could gather every week, have classes, discussions, because yes, I say this, but then the people will listen to 10 other things, which undoes all the things I do, right? That's the problem we have. So I feel like in order to create a change, we need to have like regular contact with a group of people, and that's what we're trying. We're hoping, inshallah, maybe at some point we could get the facilities to maybe have a place to start something. But other than that, it's very difficult, because you come and tell people that, religion is not about, because what you're saying, religion is the Ramadan, religion is the prayer, the Quran, that's it, done. You come and tell people, it's not about that, it's other things. They get excited, they want to go and change. The next video they watch is the person says, no, it's about the same things. See, they come and undo all the things we want to be achieving. Now, my idea is this, if I want to present it very briefly, and this is not something easy to achieve, is that, see, here, let's say we have God, the lovely people at home or whatever they are watching. So here we have God, and we know, at least we, in our mind, accept that God is loving, right? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The creation of this world is because of love. Now, so at the top, everything seems to be perfect. At the bottom, here we are dealing with a world that looks nothing like it's been created by love, right? Every now and then we do feel a little bit of love, but if you think about it, every single person who's watching, if you just go a little bit deep in their life, you see the pain coming up, the anxieties, the self-doubt, the lost opportunities, the buried dreams, the people with illnesses, the people with anxieties, we've got some people who've got dreams cannot follow, we've got people who've got all the facilities, they have no meaning, no purpose. We've got, and then even if we've got a family that's managed to sort their stuff out, you look around, what do you have? You have Yemen, you have Syria, you have the orphans in Iraq, you have the situation in Iran, and it's a messed up world. It's a terrible, terrible situation we are in right now, and seems like Muslims have it really tough. And not that I care more about Muslims than others. I care about everyone the same. Like even, for example, countries in Latin America are going through financial difficulty. It breaks my heart. So we've got loving God, terrible world. And my question is this: where did we go wrong? How come from that loving world, loving God, we came to this terrible, awful world? And this is my point. This is our point, that religion messed up its goal, its mission. Religion is no longer a dominant force for good. I'm not saying it's a force for bad, not at all. It does both. There are great charities, there are great people motivated by religion. But I'm saying on the large scale of things, you don't feel like religion is doing much for the world. Why? Two reasons. One, the religion we're giving people is so boring, is so shallow, is so cliche, it's so superficial, it's so limited to religious places that It doesn't do much. We tell people basically, if you pray, you fast, you're sorted. Hala, grandma dies, grandpa dies, give a nazri in the center and they'll announce it that yes, today's iftar was by marhuma fulan, and that's it. Marhuma is happy, people had food, everyone's happy. Someone should come and tell people, no. You can pray, you can fast, you can do all of these things and go and not do your duty. Baba, Quran says, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُسَلِّينَ. Woe to people who pray, وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاءُونَ. Right? Your social duty, your social responsibility is not cut off from your religion. But this is not our fault that we do. The way they're telling us about religion is that, no, if you just do a few things, you're sorted. I was at a lecture and a lady got up and asked, dear Sheikh, I'm a well-off person. We've got so much money and stuff, okay? Now, what should I do? I'm paying my khums. On top of that, do I have any responsibility? The Sheikh said, no, enjoy. I'm saying this is nonsense. You're bringing a group of people up that all they need to do is pray, fast, that's it. Don't care about Yemen. I mean, even if you want to care about Yemen, really, just like pay £10, post something on social media. And some of us can't even handle it. Some of us have so much problems in our own personal life that if the news tells us something that is a little bit painful, we just can't handle it. Why? Because I've got OCD myself, for example. I've got anxiety disorders, or I've got depression. My wife, this happened. We haven't been given the tools to sort our own life out and the knowledge that then you should start fixing the world. And then, but despite all of this, Muharram comes, what do we say? Imam Hussain, be proud. Imam Hussain, be proud. Look what we are doing. We are commemorating you. I'm like, mate, Imam Hussain would tell you, what are you on about? Can't you see the orphans in Iraq? Can't you see the people in Yemen? Where is the change? Fix that. Great, this is great that you guys come, but you have to get energy from me to go fix that. Why are you congratulating yourself? The fact that we gather, that's Imam Hussein's thing for us. He brings us together, he gives us love, he gives us energy, and then our mission starts after we leave the session to go and fix the world.
Yeah, exactly.
But what are we feeling? Oh, Imam Hussain must be so proud of us. Look what we're doing.
God.
Well done. And this is, again, no one's fault, right? This is just the way it's happened. But we need to wake up. And, we're working on a book on Sayed Musa, al-Sadr.
Yeah.
The reason for that is that he is a person who showed that these are not just ideas. He actually did this. Yeah. When he goes to South Lebanon in around 1959, was it? 1959.
Yes, 1959.
He goes there. The Shias in South Lebanon had it very tough. Some people were even so embarrassed to be a Shia, they would change their surname to a surname that would sound like a Sunni. A lot of women had gone to, I don't want to go into details. Very terrible situation. He comes in and he says, we need to fix this. And you see, in the 2 decades before he disappeared, he changed everything around. Everything right now, South Lebanon, the Shias have, it's his effort, of course, with all the great people that helped him, right? And see, this is how he made religion relevant. On the nights of Qadr, he doesn't come and say, oh, let's recite Joshan Kabir 3 hours till we fall asleep, and then we think that we did a great job, our affairs are sorted for the whole year. He goes on the night of Qadr and he says, guys, to be honest with you, this is a great scholar. He's a student of Allama Tabatabai, classmates of Ayatollah Shobairi Zanjani, discussion partner Shahid Saad. He's incredible in terms of knowledge. Said Musa Saad is very high. Ayatollah Khou'i said, I wish I hadn't met him, because it breaks my heart that this incredible scholar is now, going to do, for example, social work. He would have been the biggest marja of the Shia world, right? He goes on the nights of Qadr, says, brothers, I really don't understand what it means that we can pray right now and affairs of 1 year will be written for us. I don't understand that. The way I understand it is, it's the night of Qadr. We've been fasting and praying for 20 days. We've gone through that difficulty. We proved ourselves that we can change ourselves. We stayed away from food. That's not easy. We did that for 20 days. Now imagine if we live our whole year like that. What can we achieve? This is the night of Qadr. Make a pact with God right now that you believe in yourself. You saw what strength God can give you, that now we are going to go and change our situation. He talks like this on the nights of Qadr, and then in the first 2 years that he was in Sur in South Lebanon, they stopped begging. No more beggars in town.
Yeah,
and he had even plans for how to do that. Right? This is what I'm saying. Religion has to come and change lives. And then he showed it. Right? He showed it. You know, after 1974, we had the civil war there, and then, Lebanon was attacked. A lot was going on. Now, this guy, Sayed Musa, said, with one tafsir of Surah An-Nas, would make one village the strongest place in Lebanon. You know, he said that every single village that is attacked, I will make sure I am there by night. Right? There is one story of him. Because he'd made this promise, I will not any village that is attacked be alone. As the leader of the Shia of this country, I will come with you. He's going there, and then there is snow. They say the car cannot go. Right, Sheikh, let's go back. Tomorrow we'll find a Sayyidina. Let's go back. We'll find a way tomorrow to go. He says, no, I've made a promise to them. Right? He said, I've made a promise to them. He walks in the middle of the night. They say the snow was here. By the time he got to that village, they say his beard had, frozen popsicles. But he got there and he says, I promise you, I'll be here with you, and I am here. This is religion. Anything else is a joke. You know? This is a person who showed, as a religious scholar, I'm with you like this. In every single difficulty you have, and then you also have to get up. Forget about all this. And then he has lines which may be a little bit difficult for a lot of us, because when he started changing the situations of the Shia, a lot of wealthy Shias didn't help. And he said, if you are Shia and you're not helping the Mahrumeen, to me you're not a Shia. You're he says, for me, it's more important a person that follows the teachings of Al-Bayt than a person who calls himself Shia. So if there's a Christian, if there's an atheist who comes and helps the Mahrumin, that's more beloved to me than you call yourself Shia. Right? This is a person, and you can see, in 2 decades, which were not easy decades, civil war, attack, he changed the condition. To the extent that in few years, for example, South Lebanon, people who were embarrassed to call themselves Shi'i, in a few years we had the toppest students from the whole Lebanon were Shi'is. You know, he changed things around. So this is what I think we can do with religion. But in order to get there, we need to start accepting these things. That, as he said, it's not about reciting Josh and Kabir. It's not about praying. Right? Well, and I'm hoping, inshallah, we can get there.
That's beautiful, Sheikh. When is this book on Sayed Musa Sadr coming out?
Inshallah, we're hoping. We don't have an exact date, but inshallah we are hoping early.
Yeah, early next year. So what we've done is that inshallah it's going to come in 3 volumes. One volume is for people who don't have that much time, want to get a quick knowledge of the Sayed Musa. So the first volume is going to be interesting stories like the few I mentioned here. There's going to be a second, so this one inshallah it's going to be out early this next year. Then we have another book which is a more detailed, and then the third one which is basically his speeches and his ideas. So inshallah, hopefully by next year all of them will come out in different intervals.
We ask our guests to pick a word, and we asked both of you to pick a word, and I think Sister Zahra, you said service, you said love, and then you chose service because we said maybe pick a word together. What does that mean to you? Why did you pick that word?
Just life doesn't make sense without, serving others, being there for others. That's what makes life meaningful. So that's why our whole mission is about serving others and making life meaningful.
Yeah, actually, that's how we connected. How
long have you been married for, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I think 2017.
The exact date, please, Sheikh.
We actually have loads of dates. I know all of them.
You should know them. I'm putting him on the spot here now.
So we have the 5th of September was our ceremony.
Alhamdulillah.
But it was like the official thing was 1st of May. So that's what we connected through, because Zahra had gone in a voluntary trip.
Yeah, in World Without Barriers.
Without Barriers.
And then the next year we went together.
We went together because she had this idea that I can't just go back to my normal life when I've seen the situation.
That's where service comes together. Okay, beautiful.
And I was also going through, one of the things about me is that in my life, I have been around a lot of people who were in pain.
You looked at your ring as you were answering that.
No, because this is what
service and love.
Yeah, this is what for us, brings all of this together. Because we decided that in a world in which people are suffering, there's so much difficulty out there. We will devote our whole life to reducing people's suffering. And so that's what we put service there, because we think that's the most important thing.
I'm going to mention this, maybe you feel comfortable if you answer, but the role of women in our communities is somewhat, what's the right word to use? I don't want to offend anyone, but it's very difficult for women in our communities to lead. Not enough, in my opinion, not enough women role models. And there seems like even for example, I'll say this, at universities will be okay for males and females, or for our children to sit with opposite sex and opposite genders, but in the mosque we'll separate them. How do you think that's, firstly, is that a problem? Do you see the role of women, and this is not just for you to answer, of course, but do you see the role of women is sort of limited by our communities, or is it limited by religion?
Okay, so first of all, I'm actually so after I studied Hausa for a few years, just recently I've paused my optometry just to focus full-time on Islamic research, which is specifically on women and Islam and women's perspective of the Quran. So I'm actually focusing on these things. I'm focusing on feminism as well, critical study of both feminism in general and also of feminist view on the Quran. As well as other gender studies. So I'm doing all of these things because I feel like it is really important, and I do feel like we need more women role models, and also women, like in religion, basically we do really need that, like for example tafasir of Quran. So I do find this very important, and we need to step up.
Is the community at fault in not empowering women?
That's a trap question, by the way.
No,
That's
not
a trap question.
I'm not trying to trap anyone.
They're not giving us food. They are trapping us.
Community at fault, or
is it, I shouldn't say maybe fault, but they're not being empowered. Maybe that to do more.
I think it's a mixture. It's because. Yeah, it's a mixture really, because if you've been brought up a certain way that you shouldn't go out, you shouldn't speak, you shouldn't do things, and men should do these things, or men should be on the pulpit and all of that, so that does automatically make you think that you shouldn't be doing things, so you are limited. So that's why I started actually researching into this, because I really want to see how we should go forward, really. So but I also think as well that it is on each individual's decision. They need to see, like for example, oh no, this is wrong. For example, I should be going out more, speaking more, whether it's public speaking that they're worried about that because they say that, oh, women shouldn't be speaking. So
Sheikh, are scholars like yourselves limiting women? That's a trap question.
He's actually always promoting me, so
I think, alhamdulillah, we have to also acknowledge the progress we had. Definitely the situation is not ideal, right? And a part of it is female role models. Part of it is also like basically what's happening in terms of the dynamics of relationship between women and men in a lot of families.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people actually don't feel like, especially when a problem happens, like a divorce, a lot of the times I feel like people don't feel supported, the female side. Or even I've seen a lot of children of people who got divorced. the thing is, a lot of things don't become serious for us unless we are hit by them personally. So I knew people, even scholars, like having student hoses, who didn't really care that much about this. They were like, nah, what do you mean like this? Then their parents got divorced, and they saw how much more difficult it was for the women.
It's crazy.
A lot of the difficulties their mother went through, and they were like, okay, enough is enough. So unfortunately, we have that. A lot of people are waiting for it to be hit personally. But I think one of the things Zahra and we both are very passionate about is that in a lot of these things, we need discussions. Some of these problems we have don't even have ready answers. That's why, like, Zahra right now, she's spending all of her time, full time, even stopped her job, studying full time, because she's so that we really need to work hard. This may be one of the toughest cultural times in the history of humanity, in terms of the questions we're faced with, and a lot of the answers we don't have. There are so many things, honestly, people ask me, I'm like, I don't know what's the ethical way forward. We need to all come together, allow honest discussions, and hopefully, with the help of all these great women scholars that we have now in the community, alhamdulillah, it's much better than before. Honestly, before you could name only few, now many great scholars that you love listening to and benefiting from. So we need to create an environment in which then discussion could be had, so that we could, inshallah, find some answers. So the discussion as well about, like, what is actually the issue, what was the issue, because I feel like a big part of it is actually the understanding of some of the controversial facets, like رجال قوامون على النساء, things like that. So that's why I've started researching into this, both to see our ulama, what they say, and also academically what feminists are saying, because of course we need to check both sides. So so things like these, I feel like whether we know it or not, whether we're actually conscious of it, that this is affecting our lives or not, this has affected it. Our understanding, our parents, generations of understanding, that they have a different understanding of verses, So that's why we're really trying to discuss this more and see where it goes. Inshallah, I really hope, inshallah, honestly, people like Zahra are big inspirations to me. Alhamdulillah. A lot of the times I'm trying to sleep, she's still reading, annoys me so much. But I've always said, my sleep, nothing compared to her studies. I'm joking, but I'm saying honestly, people like her, people like Zahra are great inspirations to me, and I'm hoping, inshallah, people like Zahra who are, have been studying, mashallah, for a long time, even our teenagers, the teenage girls of our community, I've got so much hope in them. Alhamdulillah. They're so smart. They've got great ideas if we just believe in them.
Exactly. And give them the chance.
Exactly. Give them the chance to be part of the discussion. Sometimes the things they say blow your mind away, and you're like, damn it, I've never seen this from your perspective. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm really hopeful, inshallah, that with the help of our great female scholars, our great teenagers, we're going to have an amazing future, hopefully.
Alhamdulillah. With that note, I'd like to thank you both.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best in your journey. But before I end the podcast, there's a quick fire round. You're good at this, Sheikh. But this is for both of you to participate in.
Okay.
So I'll direct some questions for each one of you, and you'll have to answer the first thing. So there's no 60 seconds here. There's just literally answer straight away.
Let's do this.
And I'll start with you if you don't mind.
Okay.
What is the best feature of Sheikh Javad?
Meaningfulness.
What's the best feature of Sister Zahra?
Loving.
Who is the better cook?
Me.
Zahra, of course.
Oh, no, I'm joking.
Unless the one time that we actually had a contest and your dad was the judge and my lasagna won.
Okay, interesting.
But apart from that one time,
you just need to cook more and then.
What is your favorite cartoon show growing up, Sheikh Javad? First, you.
Oh God, the one about, I don't know what it's called. In Iran, we call it Futbolista. It was an anime about a group of people who play football. I don't know what it's called. Captain Tsubasa or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sister Zahra?
Powerpuff Girls.
I don't know what that is.
That's the 3 little girls that fly and...
Your favorite movie, Sister Zahra?
Favorite movie? That's really difficult. Oh, God. Favorite movie. God, I don't think I can decide.
Yeah.
Is there so many?
No, it's just my mind went blank for a second.
Sheikh, you can help out. What's your favorite?
Mine is Patch Adams.
Okay.
Oh yes, sorry, yes,
You
Patch
can-
Adams. No, because that means so much to me. The hospital idea, because I've
I
always
haven't
dreamed
seen
of
that
having
movie.
a hospital.
I need to see that
Yeah,
movie. Then.
watch
I
it.
haven't seen it. If you had to eat the same food for the next 40 days, what would you pick, Sheikh Jawad?
I call it fish feet. It's not like fish fingers. It's the bigger one. I don't know what it's called. Call it
Sister
fish
Zahra, if
feet.
you had to pick the same food for 40 days.
My pizza.
Okay.
Oh.
If you could change one thing about Sheikh Jawad, what would it be?
Nothing.
Sheikh, would you change one thing about Sister Zahra?
I would go in her mind and make her see how amazing she is and believe in herself much more.
What is the first thing you do when you get up in the morning, Sheikh Jawad?
I say salam to Zahra.
I'm guessing Sister Zahra would say wa alaikum salam. What is your favorite superhero, Sheikh Jawad, and why?
Imam Musa Sadr.
Oh yes, that's
Both-
me as well.
both
No,
of you?
no, me as well. Yeah.
Okay. So
We have a poster, everything at home.
if a movie was made about your life, both of you, what genre would it be?
Tragic comedy.
Oh my God, yeah. I
Like
agree.
Patch Adams, basically.
Yeah,
How many books have you read so far this year?
yeah. Ooh,
This year, just this year. Sheikh?
I think 140.
I think I have read 50 or 60, around between 50 and 60. I can't remember.
Can we recommend a book for readers, maybe to read, for listeners to read
I'm
this?
gonna give a whole list.
Just one book, Sheikh.
The Untethered Soul.
Sister Zahra, one book.
What was Michael Singer's book? The one that had a series?
Surrender.
Surrender.